The Andrew Lake Podcast.
Now in collaboration with Acid Quote Tees.
Feel the rhythm now.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Andrew Lake Podcast, sending you love and peace and beauty from around the world. USA, America. I am sincerely hoping you are enjoying your times. We are here to have a good time, to share in today's acid quote of the day, as we do each episode, bringing you one from the book of acid quotes. And these are, of course, available, as always, on etsy.com/acid quote tees. You can follow the link in the show notes. How good is it to be alive, to be here? You know what amazes me? Well, a lot of things amaze me. You probably think that I'm living in a continuous state of amazement, which isn't far from the truth. So it's fair to say a lot of things do bring amazement to me. But one thing that's particularly giving me amazement right now is how different every day feels. Every day is like a new day. It's a new day every day. This just boggles my mind. I cannot comprehend. I cannot even think. I cannot even, I'm going to start blubbering out gibberish in a second, just trying to get my words around this, is it a feeling? Is it an experience? Is it what? What is it? How is it that every day feels so new? It's a different place, right? I'm in a lot of different places sometimes, but sometimes I'm in the same place. And the funny thing about being in a different place, even in being a different world, is you notice that it's different, but it's also the same, right? Everywhere you go, you're doing the same thing. You eat food, you go around, you look at buildings, you see people, there are trees. And if you go to a different world, a different world is interesting in that it is all the same as your normal world, except for the fact that everything is different. People are different, trees are different, the things that you do, the atmosphere, the way that you get around, and the things that you see and all that, it's different. It is different in a different world. But even in the same day-to-day world, I cannot believe that everything is different. And today's acid quote, which I should have said at the top if I didn't mention, is that the stars are still above us. How old is this world? How many people have lived? How many people have died? How many people have come and gone in so many different ways and experienced all the things that they have experienced in these times? And yet, the stars are still above us. Those stars, those things, those twinkly dinkle-dads that we see not so often. Not often enough. When was the last time you actually looked up at the night sky and gazed at the stars? If you're lucky enough to be somewhere that you can actually see them, well, a lot of cities, it's too bright, too much light pollution, or too much clouds, too much pollution or smoke or whatever, what if not is how. And it really is special to look up at the night sky. And of course you try and count the stars and fail many times, and they are countless. And yet, after all that we have lived and all that happens, the stars are still above us. If only we could remember this. If only we could remember the stars are still above us. When we're driving in traffic and it becomes stressful because of the traffic lights. Oh my goodness, I hate traffic lights. This is one of my pet peeves. I really hate traffic lights. And yet the stars are still above us. If only we could just remember. If only I could just remember. When you argue with someone, when you feel insecure about what you've achieved or not achieved, when you check your bank account When you think about how your childhood was, when you wonder how old age will be, when you pay your bills and do your grocery shopping, when you go to work, when you spend time in the park, when you drive your car and you look around, when you see someone who's not looking like they're doing so good, when you see someone that you admire and you see, wow, if only I could be more like that person. In all these moments, in all these times, if only we could remember the stars are still above us. There's something very grounding about being in touch with the nebula. There's something very opening about that. When you're in touch with this fact, this truth, this existential realization that the stars are still above us, they're always going to be above us. They've been above us for so long, I'm not even going to begin to try to describe how long they have been there for and how long they will be there long after all of us are gone. And that's not a nihilistic perspective. I'm not trying to put a downer. Don't take this the wrong way as to be a nihilistic perspective. The stars are still above us, and that is a cause for beauty. That is a cause for gratitude. That is a cause for being in a peaceful state and going about your day with openness. And like when we say the stars are still above us and we're not going to be here for very long, the real fear is that things are precious. The more into this existential realization you go, the more precious you realize things are. Like this very conversation right now, this moment here. I'm not always going to be able to say these words to you. I'm not even always going to have the resources to be able to produce these episodes. I know that. I know that. I'm not going to be here forever, and you're not going to be listening to this conversation forever. And if it really comes down to it, if it really does become as precious as we can make it right now, then I would have to say that I love you and that I wish the best for you. And I wish you could open to love more. And I know you already have opened to love. I know you understand love. I wish you could walk the path that I always am yapping on about. Meditation, self-inquiry, awareness intensives, tantra, being in nature, perception dynamics and perspective. Yeah? Opening your being, understanding the resonance of your heart. This really is important stuff. This is precious stuff. And the more deeply you walk into this, the more you understand this, you actually connect with other people more. You see them more deeply. And when you do that, and you open to that as a path, as a realization, you actually start to see people as more unique. Yeah? The more you connect with human beings, the more uniqueness you see in them. You see their own true essence, or even not even their essence, just their personality. Now, on the surface, so many people are just the same. If you think about this in a shallow way, people just do what they do. They live their life, they go to work, they do their job, they have their family, they have their relationships, they have their place that they stay, they have their hobbies. They might be interesting hobbies, they might not be interesting hobbies to you. They might have traveled the world, they might not have traveled the world. People are just people in one level. But that perspective, that thing of people are just people and people just do what they do, that dissolves, that becomes less as you move into a perspective of the precious. Now, there is something that actually resists the preciousness of a perspective or an understanding, right? This perspective of being able to see people as precious actually costs something. It actually takes something. It actually comes with a tremendous risk. It becomes a vulnerability. Because when everything's precious, there is a kind of sensitivity that hurts. There's a sensitivity to how people are wasting their lives. There's a sensitivity to how people are not seeing the beauty in others. There's a sensitivity to how people really hurt one another and really just hurt themselves. They don't appreciate themselves and they don't hurt themselves. People live in their own tangles. They live in their own hang-ups, their own stresses, and you think, if only you could just relax, if only you could just see how this moment will be gone soon enough for the both of us. And really, as you become more aware of the preciousness of life, you become powerless. You become unable to change people. You become unable to change external circumstances. You become unable to get material things like success and recognition and fame. And of course I say powerless in the sense of the meaning powerless as we use the word power in the popular sense. Because the other side of this is that actually you become powerless in the mainstream sense of power, but you actually become powerful. You become empowered in the deeper meaning of the meaning of power, of the word power. Because the true power is in being able to see the beauty in others. It's being able to see the uniqueness of the situation. And it is funny to open to other perspectives. I don't know if this is a very smooth... I don't know if this is a funny segue or not, but to sort of keep it lighthearted if I don't want to get too serious, I remember an old friend of mine who there was this stage in the internet where conspiracy theories were first coming out. So it was some years ago now. But she had this moment where she'd first encountered all of these conspiracy theories on the internet, right? And she'd come up to me and she said, "Oh, have you seen this? Are you worried? How can you explain this?" And she had this state of fear within her. And I just laughed and I just shook it off because it was so funny to see how it had affected her. And she goes, "Wait, but do you believe in conspiracy theories?" And I said to her as quick as I could, I said, "Yes, I believe in the conspiracy of love." And I just laughed. But I'm not a serious guy. I can't take these things seriously. It's so cute when someone does that. But it's like that shift in perspective that can happen for uniqueness. That can happen for the cosmos, right? Because when you're strolling along the internet, surfing along the internet, you find the conspiracy theories, right? And there's there's some classic ones like Disney is evil, or the Illuminati, or lizard people, or, whatever. You've heard them all. We know all the conspiracy theories now, right? But the other side of that is that you can also find all the things of how old the universe is, like the Science Channel, how far away the sun is, how far away the Andromeda Galaxy is, how old this universe is, right? You can find that video where the guy mapped out all human time on a scale of 1 mile. Oh, sorry, not human time, but the length of the entire time of the universe. He made it into a scale of 1 mile. And in that, to scale, all human history was something like the width of a hair. 1 hair. 1 hair as compared to 1 mile. That's how insignificant we are. That's how it is to sense that the stars are above us. So if this is your moment of finding something, well, if you're listening to this, then you're listening to stuff on the internet, right? But it's a funny thing that you can open your mind by having someone tell you these ideas. That's what I hope. And my friend, she wasn't really a friend. I don't know if I can call her a friend. She was someone I was working with years ago. She was Maddie Jenkins. And she was, I guess every guy has this girl in their life who they wish they could be friends with. I mean, she was too cool to be friends. Like, she was too cool for me to be friends with her, even though I would have wanted to be friends with her or wanted to be special friends with her. And despite her susceptibility to conspiracy theories, I still think she was too cool for me. I mean, she was 42, so that's like the perfect thing for... I mean, a lot of my special friends have been about 42 as well. And I even remember I talked to her and I even guessed that. She was like, "Oh, you'll never guess what I am." And I said, "Yeah, you're 42. And she was like, "Hey, how did you know that?" And I was just like, "Oh, my previous girlfriend was 42. And 42 is like the exact perfect weight. But yeah, am I digging myself a hole here? Am I going to have to go into damage control with all the things that I'm saying about women? Anyway, the point of the story is, Maddie Jenkins, shout out to you wherever you are in the world. I love you. I always wished I could be friends with you, or special friends. Let's not be hidden in our agenda here. I wished we could have been special friends, but I mean, I always knew she was just way too cool for me. She's just, some people are just way out of your league. So, yeah, I wonder what happened to Maddie Jenkins. She's probably, she's probably rising star by now. But anyway, that's a different story. That's a different way of things that could have been. So the stars are still above us. And another sort of way in which this quote applies is the North Star principle, which is where you have these things in your life that distract you off track. There are things that lead you along into different avenues. And at certain points in life, it's okay to explore. It's okay to have an open road and to be just going around doing things and letting your will of the whim sort of thing, right? Just going with the wind. That's great, but there is also a time for having a North Star. There is a time for being able to know what it is you're working towards, and that should be something deep, yeah? That's not a list of goals. That's not a list of achievements. It's an inner truth. It's a feeling within you. It's something like ecstasy, something like multidimensional experiencing. It's something like being at home within your essence, being at home within your grounding. Yeah, that's your North Star. That's your thing that you cultivate within yourself. So that's a little bit about that. The stars are still above us. And right now, if you think about it, ever since we started this conversation, the stars have still been there. No matter what time of day, no matter where you are, there are stars above you. So we may as well smile. We may as well be on with it. And have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sending you love around the world, baby. USA. Have a beautiful day. See ya.